The Greatest Newspaper in Civilization by Philip Steele. Genre: informational text is text that is based on factual information. Though the Aztec news is not a real newspaper, look for details that demonstrate that it is based on real information about Aztec history and culture. The News. Success is Ours. Illustrated by Angus McBride. Our victory over the Mixtec city of Coixtlahuaca in 1458 marked the start of our triumphant rise to power under Montezuma I. A reporter from the Aztec News witnessed the final battle and sent back this report. I am standing in the center of Coixtlahuaca. All around me, the streets are filled with dead and dying Mixtecs. The sky is thick with smoke as the Mixtec temple goes up in flames. This fire is a triumphant sign to the world that victory is ours. Ahead of me, I can see our army's finest warriors, the eagles and the jaguars, rounding up captives to be sent back to our city for sacrifice. Today's events bring to a close one of the largest campaigns we Aztecs have ever waged. There were more than 200,000 warriors in the army that left Tenochtitlan, along with 100,000 porters to carry their supplies. I am told that the Mixtecs shook with fear as they saw row after row of our warriors marching toward them. No matter how hard the Mixtecs fought, they had no hope of defeating us. This glorious victory will be remembered for years to come. Not only will the sacrifice of so many captives delight our gods, but the people of Coixtlahuaca must now pay a high price if they wish to be left in peace. The Mixtecs are known throughout the land for the wealth of their traders and the fine skills of their craft workers. The tribute payments they must send to Montezuma will fill his treasury with riches. Clash of strength. The Mixtecs are forced back by our jaguar and eagle warriors. Countdown to Conflict, illustrated by Ian Thompson. March 1519. Stories begin to reach Tenochtitlan from the east coast, telling of tall wooden towers floating on the sea. Reports say there are 11 of these strange ships. April 1519. Over 600 pale-skinned foreigners leave the ships and set up camp at Veracruz. Our spies learn that the men call themselves Spaniards. This news is taken to Montezuma II. He sends splendid gifts of gold to the Spanish leader Hernán Cortés. August 1519. The Spaniards burn their ships. Do they plan never to leave our land? Riding on the great deer they call horses, they set off toward Tenochtitlan. September 1519. Cortés persuades our enemies, the Tlaxcalan people, to join him as he marches through their land. November 8, 1519. Cortés reaches Lake Texcoco, where he is greeted by Montezuma. The Spaniards and the Tlaxcalans are invited to stay in one of the palaces in our city. November 24, 1519. Cortés tries to control Tenochtitlan by taking Montezuma hostage. May 1520. At a religious festival, the Spaniards murder a number of our nobles. Fighting breaks out and the foreigners retreat to their palace. June 1520. Montezuma tells us we must make peace with the Spaniards. These are not the words of a brave ruler. Our nobles turn their backs on Montezuma and choose Cuitlahuac, his brother, as ruler. Montezuma begs us to make peace, but we will listen to this traitor no longer. Instead, we pelt him with stones. He falls. The Spaniards carry him back to their palace, and he is never seen alive again. Spaniards flee city, illustrated by Gino Dashiell. This glorious day, June 30th, 1520, is one that our people will remember forever. At long last, the Spanish cowards have been chased from our city. Tenochtitlan is free. Today, the murderous invaders lie dead in the thousands, many of them still clinging greedily to their stolen gold. Last night, the Spanish leader made a foolish mistake. Having realized that he could not easily defeat us, Cortes decided to lead his army out of our city. And knowing that we Aztecs rarely fight at night, he waited until it was dark to escape. The gods seemed to be on his side. There was no moon, and the night was pitch black. The Spaniards and their Tenochtitlan allies crept through the city toward the lake, hoping to sneak across the eastern causeway to the mainland. But they had barely reached the edge of the city when they were seen by some women fetching water from the lake. These brave women swiftly gave the alarm, and the whole city arose to give chase. Trapped at the gap. As the enemy fled, our warriors took to their canoes. They planned to trap the Spaniards and Tlaxcalans at the first of the 4 gaps in the causeway and to attack them from the water. Our warriors thought the enemy wouldn't be able to cross the gaps. As usual, the wooden bridges that spanned them had been removed to prevent anyone from entering our city at night. But knowing this, the Spaniards had built their own bridge. Only when they came to the second gap in the causeway did they realize their mistake. The Spaniards had only one bridge, and the last of their army was still using it to cross the first gap. By this time, our warriors had reached the causeway in their canoes. And now they let loose a deadly hail of stones, spears, and arrows. Some of the enemy were killed outright. Others were wounded and fell into the lake. Many of the Spaniards drowned, weighed down by their heavy armor. In a desperate bid to escape, others clambered over the bodies of their dead comrades, and in this way a number of them managed to reach the mainland. When day dawned and the bodies were counted, it became clear that as few as a third of the Spaniards and Tlaxcalans had gotten away. Cortes must now be weeping like a cloud in the rainy season. Surely he will never dare to return to Tenochtitlan. Causeway chaos. The enemies die in the thousands as they attempt to flee the city. Political pages. The Price of Power. Illustrated by Luigi Gallant. Have you ever wondered what life would be like as a noble? If so, remember that life at the top isn't everything it's cracked up to be. Of course, there are many benefits to being a noble. For starters, they're seriously rich. Apart from anything else, whenever tribute payments are sent to our great ruler by conquered peoples, every noble is given a share of the goods. And as we all know, nobles can have 2-story houses and live right in the city center. Then there's the fact that noblemen are able to marry as many women as they want to. And they and their families are allowed to wear top-quality clothing, like long cotton or feather capes, and jewelry made from gold and precious stones. Commoners, on the other hand, can't wear any jewelry other than clay bead or shell necklaces and earrings. And may the gods help them if they're ever seen in anything not made out of maguey cactus cloth. 2 sides to every story. But there's a downside to everything, of course. For example, if a noble is found guilty of a crime, he'll be punished far more harshly than a commoner. A commoner caught for a particular crime might be forced into slavery, but noble. Fine clothes, but is it all fun and games? A noble might lose his life for the same offense. Then there are your children to think of. As a noble, you'll probably send them to a Calmecec school, so they'll get a better choice of job when they grow up. If they study hard, they may even become a judge, a general, or a priest. But as Calmecec students aren't ever allowed to visit their homes, you'll never get to see them. As a commoner, you will probably prefer your children go to a local Telpachkayi school. They may have to sleep there, but at least they'll be free to come home to eat with you every day. The simple truth of the matter is you're better off the way you are. So count your blessings and just be glad that you're an Aztec. Public notices. Runaway slaves. Anyone caught touching a runaway slave will be forced into slavery. Only their owners may try to catch them. All slaves who escape win their freedom. Know your place. An increasing number of commoners have been seen wearing cotton clothes. This is a luxury allowed only to the nobles. Commoners are reminded that they are forbidden to wear any clothing not woven from the fiber of the maguey cactus. Offenders will be taken into slavery. City Life. Tenochtitlan, a guide. Illustrated by Chris Borsey. Our beautiful city attracts visitors from all over the empire, but finding your way around can be tricky. So let the Aztec News help you to make the most of your stay in Tenochtitlan. Your first sight of our glorious island city will take your breath away, if that is, you have any left after the long climb over the mountains that surround Lake Texcoco. As you come down into the valley, you'll see Tenochtitlan glimmering in the distance ahead of you, like a golden jewel set in jade green water. It may not look so big from where you are now, but you'll soon discover that it's vast. Covering nearly 6 square miles, our city is home to more than 250,000 people. Getting around. Once you reach the lake's edge, you have a choice. You can either paddle across the water in a dugout canoe, or you can enter the city by one of 3 long causeways, all of them wide enough for 8 people to walk along side by side. Once in Tenochtitlan, you can also choose to travel by canoe or walk as part of the city. The Great Temple stands in the center of Tenochtitlan. Use it as a landmark and you'll never get lost. The city is crisscrossed by a network of canals and streets. But be warned, the canals can be very smelly. You might find yourself traveling next to a canoe taking sewage from the city's public toilets to enrich the soil of the Chinampas, the farms at the edge of our island. But don't let this stop you from taking a trip around the Chinampas. Paddle out there some fine evening, then drift through the peaceful tunnels of leaves. It's a truly unforgettable experience. Sightseeing. Towering above the city skyline is our famous Great Temple with its twin shrines. One shrine is to Huitzilopochtli, the awesome god of the sun, war, and our nation. The other is to Tlaloc, our mighty god of rain. Sadly, only nobles are allowed inside the great square where the temple stands. But even if you aren't permitted to enter the square, you'll be able to glimpse the shrines over the high stone wall that surrounds it. Around the outside of the square are the 3 royal palaces and the houses of the nobles. But to discover how ordinary people live, head out of the city center to the busy streets that lie beyond. Here you'll find whitewashed cottages noisy with turkeys, dogs, and children. Eating out. Our city is well known for its mouth-watering tortilla pancakes. Buy one from a street vendor. Fresh from mountain springs, water is carried into the city by aqueducts. Souvenirs. Whatever you're looking for, from the simple to the exotic, the place to go is Tlatelolco Market. To find it, just head north from the Great Square. Most traders will accept a variety of goods in exchange for their wares, but you might find it easier to take along some cocoa beans or pieces of copper instead. Festivals. If you can, go to one of our religious festivals while you're in the city. There's at least one every month. The costumes, dancing, and music at these spectacular events will make your visit to Tenochtitlan one you'll always remember. Trading pages. Undercover, illustrated by Luigi Gallant. Our traveling merchants, the Pachtecas, are often envied for their great wealth, but the trade reporter of the Aztec News believes that their riches are well earned in view of the dangers they face. I remember the very first time I saw the Pachtecas. I was 5 years old. It was a hot night and I couldn't sleep, so I wandered out onto the road. There, in the moonlight, I saw a long line of porters shuffling by, straining beneath their loads, and leading them were shadowy figures dressed in capes. "Who are those men?" I asked my mother. "They're Pachtakas," she said, smiling. "They are the merchants who bring in marvelous things for us to buy at the market. They carry so much wealth with them that they travel under the cover of darkness for fear of robbers, and they store their goods in secret warehouses in the city." My mother went on to talk of the far-off lands the Pachtakas visited and of the many treasures they brought back: golden jewelry, feather capes, tortoise-shell cups, spices, cocoa beans. Of course, it wasn't surprising that I hadn't yet come across these merchants. They keep to themselves. They live in a separate part of the city and have their own temples and laws. They even have their own god, Tenochtitlan. But when I was a young warrior marching across the empire with the army, I often saw these merchants trading in faraway cities, and I began to realize that it's the Pachtakas who helped to make our city so rich. Since then, I've wondered if they do more than just buy and sell. I spy a trader. I've heard people say that the Pachtakas spy for our ruler in the lands they visit. We can't know this for certain, of course, but they do have the perfect cover. They speak many languages, and they do their best to blend in with other tribes. There's no question that many Pachtakas are even richer than nobles. But then, traveling beyond the borders of the empire can be dangerous, let alone spying. Personally, I admire their courage, and I have ever since that magical night when I was a little boy. Looking for adventure? Could you carry a 60-pound load for more than 20 miles a day? Then you could be a Tlamene, a porter on our next trading expedition. You'll get regular food rations and a chance to travel. Apply to the Pachtaka Committee, Tlatelolco. By the light of the moon, 3 Pachtakas and their porters quietly leave the city. Fashion and feasts. Throwing the perfect party, illustrated by Angus McBride. Whether you're celebrating a birthday or doing your best to impress your friends, organizing a party can be hard work, unless that is you do it the Aztec News way. The guest list. Choose your guests with care. Nobles. You will want to invite men in positions of power who can help you or your family. Commoners. Ask as many people as you can afford to show how generous you are. The place to party. Make sure the seating areas for men and women are clearly separated. If you don't have enough space inside, let's party. Noble men and women gather for a feast. Your house, a courtyard, will work just as well. Decorate the area with fresh flowers, incense burners, and torches for when it gets dark. The menu. Bear in mind that if your guests don't like the food you give them, they can invite themselves back again the following day for another party. So really make an effort with the menu. If you can afford it, serve specialties such as hot turkey pot pies with chile and tomato sauce or lobster with avocado. And it wouldn't be much of a party without plenty of frothy hot chocolate, would it? Entertainment. It goes without saying that no party is complete without music and dancing. So if you can afford to, hire some entertainers. Otherwise, invite along a few friends who are good singers or dancers. Dress to impress. Everything is ready and your guests will soon be arriving. But have you thought about what to wear? It's vital that you look your best in honor of the occasion. Men, you'll want to wear your most brilliantly patterned cape and loincloth. If you're a noble, take the chance to show off your finest headdress and armbands and your best nose and lip plugs. And ladies, make sure that your most colorful skirt and overblouse are fresh and clean. If you're a commoner, it's worth thinking about making a new outfit. Maguey cloth does look best when it's new. Noble women should add some amber or jade earrings and perhaps a gold necklace. Precious metals and stones are forbidden to commoners, of course. Instead, wear your finest clay bead or shell necklace. And finally, don't forget that as the host of the party, you will be expected to give each one of your guests a suitable present at the end of the evening. Leave it to the professionals. Our entertainers are experts in a wide range of traditional songs and dances. Whether you want a duo or a 10-piece band complete with bells, flutes, and drums, we're the best. Avoid disappointment. Book now. The party people, Tenochtitlan. Dancers, musicians, singers. Timeline. About AD 1100, the Aztecs leave their homeland in the north of Mexico to travel south in search of a new home. About 1195, the Aztecs arrive in the Valley of Mexico. 1325, the city of Tenochtitlan is founded on an island in Lake Texcoco. The first great temple is built by the Aztecs in thanks to their gods. The Aztecs have to pay tribute to the ruler of Azcapotzalco, the most powerful city on the lake. 1375. Acampichli, the first known ruler of the Aztecs, comes to the throne. 1428. The Aztecs join forces with the nearby cities of Texcoco and Tlacopan, forming what is known as the Triple Alliance. Together, they conquer the city of Azcapotzalco and dominate the Valley of Mexico. 1440, Montezuma I comes to the throne. Under his leadership, the Aztec Empire expands. 1486, Ahuizotl becomes ruler. During his reign, the empire continues to grow. 1502, Montezuma II becomes ruler. The Aztec Empire is now at its height. 1519, a fleet of Spanish ships lands on the east coast of Mexico. The Spaniards set up camp at Veracruz. Led by Hernán Cortés, the Spanish army heads toward Tenochtitlan. It is joined by warriors of the Tlaxcalan people. Montezuma invites the Spaniards and their allies to stay in one of the royal palaces in Tenochtitlan. Once there, they take Montezuma prisoner. 1520, Cuitlahuac, Montezuma's brother, is elected ruler. Montezuma dies and the Spaniards flee the city. Smallpox breaks out. Thousands die, including Cuitlahuac. Cuauhtémoc becomes the new ruler. 1521, the Spaniards and their Tlaxcalan allies return and surround Tenochtitlan. On August 13th, after a siege lasting 93 days, the Aztecs surrender and their city is destroyed. More than 240,000 Aztecs died during the siege. 1522, Tenochtitlan is rebuilt and named Mexico City. It is declared the capital of the Spanish colony of New Spain. Pronunciation Guide. Ahuizotl, Chinampa, Coixtlahuaca, Huitzilopochtli, Maguey, Mixtec, Montezuma, Pachteca, Telpachcayi, Tenochtitlan, Texcoco, Tlaloc, Tlamene, Tlatelolco, Tlaxcalan, Tortilla. Some of the names used here are modern ones, such as America or Mexico. The Aztecs would have used different names. Meet the author, Philip Steele. Philip Steele has published more than 60 books in Britain, where he learned about the world of publishing when he worked as an editor. When he moved to Wales to do freelance writing, he says, I learned to speak the Welsh language, made new friends, and relaxed in some of the most beautiful scenery in the British Isles. Mr. Steele likes to travel and has backpacked across the Middle East, India, the former Soviet Union, and China. He has also spent time in the United States, Canada, Mexico, and Africa. He says these experiences have given him background material for his children's books about countries, peoples, and natural history. He says he would like to write a historical novel for younger readers, if I can ever find the time. Mr. Steele lives in Wales with his wife and daughter. Other books by Philip Steele: Castles and The Best Book of Mummies.